Hello, this is John Paval here with Access Arts Live. It's time for the weekly roundup of the big guns: opera, ballet, orchestral works, soloist with orchestras. That's what we have coming up for you this week. And we have selections of live streams for you from Europe and from the United States and from down under in New Zealand. The world is bursting with live streams of ballet, opera, and orchestral works this week, and we found the best ones we could for you. There may be some others out there lurking. I'll talk to you a little bit about that at the end of this this live stream, but there's plenty to tell you about here. So let's get right down to it. It may not be that often that La Scala or La Scala Ballet it comes across anything that they're doing for the very first time. They've been around forever. They've done everything you would think. But Tuesday night, the La Scala Ballet will be mounting two pieces they haven't done before. They are well-loved ballets by Jerome Robbins, and they're doing them in the Jerome's choreography. They even call the guy, the choreographer on the job is described as choreographic supervision, because the idea is this is the Jerome Robbins choreography for these two pieces. The pieces are Dances at a Gathering and the Concert. And I think altogether with the intermission, you're talking about a 3-hour evening. It's a Teatro alla Scala, Tuesday, November 12th at 8:40 European time in the evening. That's 2:40 in the afternoon on the East Coast, and 11:40 in the morning on the West Coast. Maybe knocking off work early or going to lunch early to have a chance to see it. It will not be free of charge. It will cost you either €9.90 euros, which is about $11, or €11.90, which is $13 depending on whether you get it in high definition or in 4K. And 4K adds a dimensionality that you might want to have for ballet. Let me tell you a little bit about the people who are going to be in this ballet. I've got pictures of them. This is Nicoletta Manni and Claudio Coviello. You know, you just sometimes have to wonder, how do they do this? They are the two principals in the first piece, which is called Dances at a Gathering. Nicoletta Manni, if you know the ballet, dances the role of Pink. She joined the La Scala Ballet Company back in 2013. They made her a prima ballerina in 2014. She's now, as of 2023, she's the étoile of the Teatro alla Scala. Claudio Coviello, who dances the role of Brown, joined a little earlier than she did in 2010. He started winning all kinds of prizes back in 2012 and 2013. He kept winning prizes as Best Emerging Artist, Dancer of the Year at various contests or by different magazines. So they made him a soloist of the La Scala company. And then by the end of 2013, they'd made him a principal dancer. So these are main people. There are other dancers. If you go to the Teatro alla Scala website, you can get the full complement of them, but I'm afraid I can't give you the background on all of the dancers. There are too many of them involved. Now, in the let's bring them down here. I had a couple other photos I wanted to show you of Nicoletta Manni, which just to show the grace, the precision, the elegance. Well, okay. Now we move on to the second piece they'll be doing, called the Concert. Now, and this is actually a story of a bunch of people like at an audition, I think it is, and the lead role is the ballerina, and that's being played by Caterina Bianchi. I have photos of the two leads here too, Caterina Bianchi and Marco Agostini. Caterina hasn't been around as long. She's homegrown. She studied at the La Scala Academy Ballet School, and when she graduated in 2016, she joined the ballet corps. And playing the husband is Marco Agustino. He graduated from the La Scala Ballet School back in 2007, joined the ballet corps in 2008, became a soloist in 2013, and in 2022 was named a principal dancer of the company. It isn't all that often that we have ballet or dance to tell you about, so I'm very happy about it, and we'll make sure that we resend this video to our fellow dance and ballet loving groups on Facebook, because we tend to relay everything we send out that way. So there you have it. We start off the week with a bang already on Tuesday night. But then we're not done being down in Italy, because on Friday at 8 o'clock in the evening, European time, there's a group of opera companies that were formed during the COVID years. They're called Opera Streaming, and they have continued to stream now that the COVID years are over. There are about 6 of them, 6 different schools. Friday, 8 o'clock in the evening, European time, on November 15th, that is, 2 o'clock in the afternoon on the East Coast, 11 in the morning on the West Coast. Opera Streaming will be live streaming from the Teatro Galli in Rimini, Italy, Rossini's Il Turco in Italia, a Turk in Italy. This is free of charge. This is a piece which was composed by Rossini. This is all homegrown Italian stuff. Composed by Rossini in 1814 for the Teatro alla Scala, although it's not being performed by La Scala. And this is a co-production by about a half a dozen theaters that are all involved in opera streaming. We are told that it's staged by a young director named Roberto Catalano, who has imagined a whole new interpretation of the piece, which is based on the idea that the female protagonist is not satisfied with whatever she has, and she always wants to know what other people want and how she can get it. I have photographs that I can show you of the 2 leads in this opera, and when you see them, that's, this is an excellent pair of personalities to put behind the voices we're talking about. The guy there is playing the role of Selim is Nahuel Di Piero, and he has already performed this role at the Zurich Opera House in 2023, and may have also performed it at other places. He basically came up through French schooling. He was at the Atelier de l'Opéra, the Paris Opera, and after that, he was part of the Salzburg Festival Young Singer Project. This year, he'll be singing Don Alfonso and Così fan tutte at the Teatro Comunale di Bologna. He'll be playing Mustafa in L'Italiana in Algeria at the Teatro des Champs-Élysées. And he'll be singing, that lucky dog, he'll be singing Haydn's Die Schöpfung at the Music Fest in Bremen, which it has that absolutely lovely piece, Mit Würde und Hochheit angetan, that lucky dog. And then he will be also, he's doing a recital in Paris at the Théâtre de l'Athénée, which is a luxurious theater. I have to go see that if it's going to be a time when I'm going to be in town for that. And then Fiorilla is played by Elena Galitskaya. Yeah, that's the girl you see there on the left. She played that not long ago for the Opéra Royal de Wallonie in Liège, the Belgian Royal Opera in the Walloon section of Belgium, and she also sang it with the Dijon Opera. She started out with the Opéra de Lyon in Lyon, France. They brought her in to sing Lucia in the Shostakovich operetta, and then they loved her so much they immediately rehired her to sing Laurie Moss in Copland's The Tender Land. And she's there. She's sung roles like Zerlina and Don Giovanni, Despina and Così fan tutte, and Frasquita and Carmen. So I think it'll be a lovely opera to watch. There's also a gang of dancers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and mimes. There are 4 dancers and 4 mimes that are in the cast. So I think it's going to be a very interesting staging for you to enjoy. Wow. So we have ballet and opera to start the week out. I'm very happy about that because we don't always get ballet and opera. And now we move on to the weekend, starting with Thursday through Sunday. And there are going to be difficult choices that you have to make. There's along the way, it's sort of like the battle of the bands or the battle of the pianist, because in succession, you'll have the 40-year-old Ukrainian-Australian pianist, Alexander Gavrylyuk, playing with the New Zealand Symphony Orchestra. Then you'll have the 78-year-old Czech pianist, Rudolf Buchbinder, playing with the Cologne Philharmonic. And then you'll have the 23-year-old Russian pianist, Alexander Malofeyev, playing with the Gulbenkian Orchestra in Lisbon. So 3 hits coming along, one right after the other. And the last 2 of them, you're going to have to choose between them because they're live streaming at the same time. And I think both of them are free of charge. So let's get on to my presenting these 3 piano soloists to you. There's good news for Americans who love orchestral works from everywhere on the planet. The recent time changes in the US, which has gone off daylight savings time, and down under in Australia and New Zealand, which have just gone on daylight savings time, is making performances by orchestras down under and chamber music and everything much more accessible to American audiences, because the time difference is expanding and the US is behind them. You'll see when I give you the times on this. The first example is a somewhat stellar concert by the New Zealand Symphony Orchestra this Friday, November 15th, Friday evening in Wellington, New Zealand. But it's going to be late. It's going to be Thursday prime time or late Thursday night, depending on whether you're on the West Coast or the East Coast in the United States. I already mentioned that it's going to be the New Zealand Symphony Orchestra with Alexander Gavrylyuk playing Rachmaninov, and he's a Rachmaninov specialist. This is 6:30 p.m. New Zealand time, which is 6:30 in the morning in Europe. Inconvenient, but it's 12:30 at night, a half an hour after midnight on Thursday night on the East Coast. And that's not too late to stay up to see a symphony. And it's only 9:30 in the evening on the West Coast, which is prime time. Now, to watch it, it will cost you something, but you have to subscribe for a month to the New Zealand Orchestra to do it. You have to get the digital subscription, but it's $5.95 in New Zealand dollars, which is $3.75 in US dollars, or $3.40 in euros, which is next to nothing. It will cost you 10 times that to walk into the concert house to attend the concert in person. Okay, so what are they playing? Why did I say it's somewhat stellar? Okay, they start out, they're playing the New Zealand premiere of a piece that's been around for over a decade, but it's their premiere of Icarus, a 12-minute piece by a terrific composer named Lara Auerbach. And I got a picture of Lara Auerbach for you here. Where is my picture of Lara Auerbach? Here she is. That's her. Okay, Lara Auerbach, and she composed this piece over a 5-year period of time, from 2006 to 2011. It might have been revised. And she says that it's about Icarus needing to fly as high as he can, beyond what is possible. I will tell you, I've heard this piece, and it is wow. It is just, it's wow. If you've heard it, you're going to want to hear it again. And if you haven't heard it, you're going to want to hear it. It's got piccolos and bass and timpanis and crystal glasses and 2 harps. It's got a lot of things in it. It was originally composed on commission for the Dusseldorf Symphony Orchestra. But that's a piece that you don't want to miss. And that's just the first 12 minutes of this concert. I mean, that's just getting started. Then after that, they move on to this guy, who's like one of the master pianos of the world. He's about 40 years old. He's absolutely in his prime. He's in between the other two. He's in between the other two pianists I mentioned to you, and I can't remember the names while I'm in the middle of talking about this, but I'll get back to them. And he did a performance of Rachmaninov's Piano Concerto No. 3 at the BBC Proms back in 2017, which drove everybody crazy. I mean, the critics absolutely loved it. He'll be playing Rhapsody on a Theme of Paganini by Rachmaninov, which is a lovely piece, and I think it's going to be terrific. And he's a guy who's performed with all the top orchestras in the world. He's the artist in residence at Wigmore Hall, just finishing up the season. It was 223 and 224. So no, it was last year. So this should be a really fine performance. And I may have forgot to mention something else, but the conductor. Finish. Then they do Bartók's Concerto for Orchestra. Nothing like a major work like that Bartók wrote in a moment of spiritual crisis, striving to revive his hope in the worth of being alive after he was exiled to America in 1940, and he was miserable and nobody liked his music over in the U.S. and he didn't have any money. So then he writes this great. He writes this great concerto for orchestra, which you're not supposed to do. It's supposed to be a concerto, supposed to be for a soloist. Anyway, it's Vasily Petrenko who is directing it. The artistic director and chief conductor of the Berlin Phil. He's so big that when the Berlin Phil is promoting their own live streams, they always put Vasily Petrenko in the title because they know everybody wants to hear him conduct. So I'm telling you, Lara Auerbach, Icarus, Vasily Petrenko, and Alexander, let me get his name right for you, Gavrylyuk, so I pronounce it right. That's quite an evening for $3.75 US. I commend it to you. How do you choose between pianists from entirely different generations, several generations apart, both of whom are highly talented? That's the question that's going to be coming up for you on Friday, November 15th at 8 o'clock in the evening, European time, 2 in the afternoon on the East Coast, and 11 o'clock in the morning on the West Coast. I've said this recently, but I'll say it again. We don't live forever. And some of the great artists of the past half century are not going to be around with us for forever. At the end of October, it was Daniel Barenboim and Martin Argerich playing a Beethoven concerto together. Barenboim is canceling concerts now because he's having health issues, serious health issues. And another example is this Friday, November 15th. It's Rudolf Buchbinder. He's 78 years old. He's the Czech pianist who has been around, has been a force in international music for 60 years. And he's being live streamed by and with the Cologne Symphony Orchestra. It's free of charge. They're doing a concert called Lebenswege, Life Paths. He'll be playing Brahms Concerto No. 1 in D minor for piano and orchestra. And then what will they do next? They'll do Bartók's Concerto for Orchestra. So you get two chances. You can compare two masters, because I can tell you the conductor for this concert is he's no slouch compared to Vasily Petrenko. It's the Romanian-born conductor Cristian Măcelaru, a Grammy Award winner 2 times, I think. Music director of the Orchestra Nationale de France, chief conductor of the Cologne Philharmonic, plays with all the top opera houses. He's really into opera conducting, and he's conducted, his bio says, 90 symphony orchestras around the world. And it's Măcelaru is going to take over at the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra, which I'll be talking to you about in a little bit because they have a live stream on Sunday. But Macellaro is going to be stepping in at the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra now that Louis Langret has moved on. And Louis Langret was with them for more than a decade. So I'm happy to see that they've gotten somebody, really good to step in for them. So this is, Christian Macellaro coming in to conduct a Bartók's Concerto for Orchestra. As for Buchbinder himself, well, the thing about Buchbinder is, though, that he's really a Beethoven specialist. If you go to his website, you see, first thing you see is learn about the renowned pianist Rudolf Buchbinder, his upcoming performances of Beethoven's piano concertos and sonatas. So he's playing Brahms's piano concerto, but that's not his specialty. He's the guy who's played all 32 of Beethoven's piano sonatas over 60 times. Repeatedly, he's done that over a 7-day period of time, just playing and playing and playing. So he has recorded some Brahms songs for Deutsche Grammophon. Stage Plus live streamed him playing a Gershwin piano concerto this past August. So I get the feeling the guy is trying to branch out. He's 78 years old, and I think he's saying, well, I don't want to just play Beethoven to the end of my days. I want to mess around and play some other stuff. Well, he'll have his hands full with the Brahms first piano concerto. It took Brahms 4 years to write it. Well, it always took Brahms forever to write anything. Why? Well, because he always felt he had Beethoven watching over his shoulder, which he did. Do I have a picture of Buchbinder for you? I thought I did, but this is the picture of Buchbinder. Yeah. So it took Brahms 4 years to write it. He started out as a symphony, turned into then a sonata for 2 pianos, and finally he just asked everybody what he should do, and he decided, well, he was a professional pianist himself, turns it into a piano concerto. Anyway, there's no way of saying that this is not going to be an excellent concert with Buchbinder or Buchbinder would probably be the way the Czech would pronounce it, and with Macellaro on the podium and with the pieces that they're playing. It's just a marvelous concert that they have set up, and it's free of charge. Brahms and Bartók. But there's something to be said for youth. There's something about discovering a rising young artist who's just tearing up the pea patch, as they would say back in Tennessee. Though I've never been to Tennessee. I have a sister-in-law who ended up living there. But anyway, Friday, November 15th at 8 o'clock in the evening, at the same time as the 78-year-old Rudolf Buchbinder is playing Brahms in Cologne, or Köln, the young Alexander Malofeyev, piano prodigy, age 23, is playing Tchaikovsky in Lisbon with the Gulbenkian Orchestra. And Malofeyev is a Tchaikovsky specialist. In 2014, he's 23 years old now, okay? He was, 13 years old? He won the International Tchaikovsky competition for young musicians. I have a picture of him. You've just been looking at a picture of the older guy, Buchbinder. I'll pronounce it European style now. There's the guy. This is how young he is. But he's played with the Amsterdam Concertgebouw, the Munich Phil, the Elbphilharmonic in Hamburg. He's played at Carnegie Hall and other places. He's played with the Frankfurt Radio Orchestra, the Orchestra de la Suisse Romande under Marina Alsop, and I'll be talking about her in just a moment. And with many others. So. And he will be doing Tchaikovsky's Piano Concerto No. 2 in G major. This is a young guy, a hotshot, playing what he plays best, Tchaikovsky. How do you decide whether to watch this concert or whether to watch the concert at the same time, which will be ongoing at the same time with the Cologne Philharmonic and Rudolf Buchbinder playing Brahms. Well, you could decide to watch Buchbinder because how much longer is he going to be around? He's 78 years old. Or you could decide that you want to discover this new kid who may be around for the next 50, 60 years and who specializes in what he's playing, whereas Buchbinder does not specialize in Brahms. I don't know. It's a choice that's got to be made. Anyway, let me talk to you a little bit about the entire program. They're starting out playing Alfred Schnittke's Pianissimo. Then they do the Tchaikovsky with young Malofeyev. And then they'll be doing a piece called Fairy Tale Poem by Sophia, by this woman here, Sophia Gubadulina. She's 93 years old. So we're going up and back between generations here. She was born in Kristopol in the Russian Republic of Tatarstan in 1931. She was a protege, you could call it, of Dmitri Shostakovich, the legendary. But she had a thing about freedom. I want to read you something she said about it. She said, without it, I would not have survived as a composer. I could not have written without a free soul. That was just an either or, but a free occupation was not possible in this regime. I was not dangerous. My music was not the problem. It did not really matter, but the desire for freedom was in my eyes, and so she ended up living in Germany. Her works have been performed by the Berlin Phil, the Leipzig Gewandhaus Orchestra. She's worked with conductors like Christian Thielemann and Simon Rattle. Bachtrack, the online magazine, recently said that they selected her as the most played composer in the world. If you haven't heard her, this is a chance to hear her. Why haven't you heard her? She's won Sweden's Polar Music Prize, which is a big deal. I lived in Stockholm half time, so I know. She's won Japan's Premium Imperial Prize, and she received the Federal Cross of Merit from the government of dear old Deutschland. So that is a concert that you may well want to hear. And after they finish up her fairy tale poem, well, what will they be doing next? Well, they'll be doing the Tchaikovsky's suite based on Swan Lake. So, I mean, that's an evening. How can I not recommend that to you? As much, possibly more than I would recommend the Cologne Philharmonic playing at exactly the same time, the same evening. Tough choice to make. Well, then we move ahead to Sunday. We have two more orchestras on Sunday. They are both American orchestras. I'm so happy to tell you. We got two concerts from American orchestras Sunday afternoon at times when they can easily be watched also by those of you who are in Europe. So let me get to presenting these two to you. We're already at almost 30 minutes, but that's just the way these things are going. If I'm going to do justice to these concerts, it takes that much time. When we get to the end of the week and I do the weekend update, it'll be shorter. The first of these concerts, the Cincinnati Orchestra is going through a transition between its artistic director and chief conductor. They were with Louis Langret for over a decade, and an excellent, highly talented conductor. The question was, who are they going to get to come in to replace him? It's going to be Cristian Macellaro, who is their artistic director designate this year, and then he'll be taking the reins next year. So very happy Cristian Macellaro change coming to the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra. Macellaro, as you know, is the current musical director of the Orchestra Nationale de France, and he's also the chief conductor at the Cologne Philharmonic. So absolutely top of the line. They'll be doing a Bernstein and Shostakovich concert this Sunday, which is a great playing of two of the great composers of the 20th century. They'll be doing Bernstein's Chichester Psalms. I hope I pronounced that correctly, which is sacred music about a path to eternal peace. But it's music, some of the music comes from the prologue of West Side Story. And then after that, as the second piece, they'll be doing Shostakovich's Seventh Symphony, which was written about the siege of Leningrad, which could, destroy everything. So it's a great it's a great afternoon of music. And the conductor is, and I just mentioned her earlier, Maureen Alsop. And who is Maureen Alsop? Well, if you don't know who she is, you should know who she is, because she may be the premier woman conductor in the U.S. and one of the premier just conductors. She was with the Baltimore Symphony for, I think, 14 years or something. Now she's the laureate there. Currently, she's in her 6th year as chief conductor of the Vienna Radio Symphony Orchestra. She's which plays at the Musikverein and the concert house in Vienna. She's in her 2nd year as artistic director and chief conductor of the Polish National Radio Symphony. She's also in her 2nd year as principal guest conductor of London's Philharmonia Orchestra, which is a great orchestra, very innovative. And she's in her 1st year as principal guest conductor of the Philadelphia Orchestra. And for years, she's been the chief conductor of Chicago's Ravinia Festival. I mean, that's that is nothing to sneeze at. And but coming in addition to that, so she's partly the star of the show. But in addition to that, here's another part of which is the star of the show. It's this. For those of you who love choral music, the May Festival Chorus will be joining in on Bernstein's Chichester Psalms. Or somebody send me a note and correct me if I've got this wrong. And they every May they have a huge choral festival in Cincinnati, which has been going on since 1873. It's the oldest American choral festival. They have premiered lots of works. They've done American premieres of things like Bach's Magnificat and Mahler's Symphony No. 3. They work with composers like John Adams, James Macmillan, Julia Wolfe, and others. So what a bang-up concert that is going to be. And that's at 2:00 in the afternoon in Cincinnati, Eastern Standard Time, which will be at 11 o'clock on the West Coast and 8 o'clock in the evening in Europe. So it's a perfect time for you Europeans to check out a terrific American conductor and this great festival chorus, which has such a great pedigree of playing Bernstein and Shostakovich. I can highly commend this concert to you. Finally, to end your weekend of big guns, we have a live stream coming from the Boston Philharmonic Orchestra. Look, it isn't every week that you get to enjoy a live stream by the Boston Phil. They don't do it every week. They'll do it maybe once a month. One of the USA's and one of the world's premier orchestras. But this Sunday, you do. And they're putting on, curiously enough for an American orchestra, a British extravaganza. They're bringing in British conductor Benjamin Zander to conduct Purcell, Argo, Elgar, and Holst. The Purcell piece is the Ciccone in G minor as arranged by Benjamin Britten, whom I believe was an early mentor to the conductor Benjamin Zander himself. Then they'll be playing Elgar's cello concerto, and this will be played by another Brit, Alexander Bailey. Who the people at the Boston Phil absolutely love him. They call him the quintessential complete musician. This is the 8th time they brought him over to play concertos. He's played Dvorak, Dutilleux, Elgar, Haydn's C major, Shostakovich's First, etc. And he's been touring with the Elgar Concerto in Germany, which is where he lives. He lives in Bremen, and he teaches at the Hochschule there. And he's recorded Elgar's concerto on the conifer level. So, but Benjamin Zander raises an issue in the program materials where he says this. He says this is a work referring to the Elgar, that must be experienced live in the renowned acoustics of Symphony Hall. No recording has ever truly captured its sonic variety and magnificence. And what this raises is this whole issue of the authenticity of the music. Oh yeah, the third piece they're doing, I'm sorry, is Gustav Holst's The Planets, with the aimable participation, the friendly participation of the Radcliffe Choral Society. How Bostonian of them. But I want to get back to this issue of the sound, because one of the things that I think is lacking in live streaming of all of the performing arts is engineering the sound so that it reflects the characteristics of the performance hall. They don't do that. They don't do it sufficiently. And all too often, what they're trying to do instead is provide you like perfect production sound. There are a lot of orchestras and other performing arts companies, they won't even live stream because they're afraid the sound won't be perfect. In other words, the sound won't be fake, like it came out of a recording studio. Sound that never existed in real life is never going to exist in real life. But the acoustics of a particular hall are a part of the experience. And what the goal of the sound engineer should be is to capture for you the sound in that hall so that you can enjoy that hall. So when you listen to a concert of the Moscow Phil and the Great Hall in Moscow, it sounds different than the Boston Symphony and playing in Boston's concert hall, or than the DSO in the concert hall in Detroit, which is fabled to be one of the best acoustical concert halls in the world because it's not too big. A lot of concert houses now, they built them out so big with so many people that it doesn't help the sound, the acoustic quality, if it's too big. We're not talking about football stadiums here. And especially with live streaming, you can reach a lot of people all over the world. You don't need to try to pack in another 300 in the hall. Why not try to get another 10,000 online? That's another thing for me to rap about on another occasion. In any event, what I'm saying here is that Xander has put his finger on something which is very important, which is that live streamers need to be thinking about reproducing the actual experience of the sound, what that sound is going to be like for you if you're sitting in the middle of the fifth row, or whatever is the ideal place in which to sit in a particular concert hall. So it sounds one way at Wigmore Hall, it sounds another way in Moscow, another way in Detroit, etc. It shouldn't all sound the same. It shouldn't be the same steroid-driven, perfected pap, where there are no mistakes, where you don't hear anybody coughing, where you don't have any reality there. Let's have the real, is what I say. Okay, listen, I've talked far too long, but I have reasons for doing so, because now what we're going to be doing is taking out snippets. So each of these passages that I gave to you on a different orchestra can be clipped out and then reposted later in the week. So you don't have to watch the whole 40 minutes, which is what we're almost up to now. You can just watch like 4 minutes on the Boston Symphony. Subscribe to us, especially on YouTube. So maybe we can start monetizing there. We're doing a lot of work. This is the Monday roundup of the whole of all the big guns. We still have the organ recital roundup, which will come out tomorrow, and the chamber music roundup. So there's more to come, folks. And if you love the performing arts, subscribe to us on YouTube and repost these things to other people that love the performing arts. Let's all join in with the global audiences, which, especially on YouTube, you can find the global audience in the chat box. They're there. I run into them all the time, the same people, and we just need more, that's all. Ciao for now. Have a great week, and I hope that some of these pieces move you, inspire you, or just give you a heck of a good